to the Entrepreneurs Hangout Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. I am here with my absolute wonderful, delightful friend, Michelle Keinan. Michelle, say hey to everyone.
Hey to everyone.
This is actually going to be like probably the most risque, sexy, saucy episode I've done. This gal, I cannot tell you, she has the Goddess Wife School. Can you believe it? Who has a Goddess Wife School? Everybody, but I mean, like Michelle. I mean, she's got the coolest shit ever. So, Michelle, tell everybody about you and your Goddess Wife School.
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Keinan, and I am a relationship success coach. And my specialty is in helping powerful, strong, and visionary women have relationships with their man that feel as sexy, satisfying, and successful as the businesses and lives that they're creating. I'm sorry, every time I talk about it, I get a notification. So I'm sorry, I tried to turn that off. I hope we don't hear many more pings during this, unless it's like a moment of genius and then it goes, yeah, I'll take that. My Goddess Wife School, it's my legendary Goddess Wife School at this point. And it's a beautiful program that I created for women that don't want to feel like their relationships are a burden and instead really want to feel like goddesses in their everyday lives, because there's a lot of stigma actually that we don't even realize that we're brought up with around the heaviness or the burden of being a wife, and there's a lot of tropes and a lot of paradigms out there that once you're a wife, you have to give things up and you have to sacrifice yourself and you're not going to get your needs met and that you always have to compromise. And the women that I help go from being in that position with their boyfriends, partners, husbands, to really learning how being your happiest, most fulfilled, most delicious self is actually the juice, the inspiration that gets your man going and inspires him to be everything that you want to need. And that makes him really happy to be that for you anyway.
I love that, Michelle. So it's kind of funny. So how long have you been doing this? First of all, give us a little background.
So I have been doing healing work and empowerment work for women for the better part of a decade. But I really started to focus on relationships at the beginning of the pandemic, when we started to see all of the news and reports from other countries about what isolation, pandemic conditions, quarantining was doing to people's relationships, how divorce rates were going up, how people were fighting with their partners, and really like what happens when suddenly there is an apocalypse and you look at your partner and you're like, wait a minute, I chose you as my survival mate. Like, what's going on? Did I make the right choice? Like, how are we going to get out of this together? I saw that there was this real need and crisis, and me and my husband have sort of worked in those kinds of conditions. We've been co-founders and co-parents, and we've done so many different things together in really intense ways. And we had a lot of skills and tools to offer couples that really wanted to thrive even under really stressful circumstances.
That's amazing. So, but you are a coach on your own.
Yes, exactly. My husband is not part of my Goddess Wife School, but definitely he is part of the growth and the expansion that I experience through my relationship. One of the things that I teach is that our relationships are portals for healing and immense growth, and how to take any struggle or frustration that you have with your partner of any sex or gender, and turn it into that opportunity for getting whatever you want and need. And so anyone is welcome to work with me. However, my specialty, what I really know is helping heterosexual women that are in relationships where they want to feel their partner's masculine energy activated.
Without probably being swallowed up, right? I mean, do you find like your ideal client, what would you say the age is? And is this their second marriage, or what have you found? I mean, give us some juice, man.
Well, I'm always surprised, right? The more that I do Goddess Wife School, the more women that hear about what I'm doing. There isn't a prototypical type of woman in terms of like an age or a location necessarily, and or even in terms of which marriage or relationship they're on. And in honesty, I work with women in all sorts of relationships, whether they're single, whether they're dating, whether they're in their first marriage, or if they want to, be in another relationship in their next marriage. But really, it comes from the woman that I work with best is she's a visionary. And so she knows how to get what she wants and how to fight for what's right and how to have a goal and how to make that goal happen, how to get to it. But all of the tactics that she uses out in the world to get what she wants, it's not having the same effect, and she's not getting the results that she wants in her partnership because she's either suddenly now the boss or the mom of her man, and she hates that feeling and he hates that feeling too, or the more that she pushes, the more he pulls away. And so there's a lot of frustration on her end and also on his end too. And we always hear about like the battle of the sexes and that we need to fight for what we want and what we need, and there is that reality out there. But what we don't realize is that there's another way for us to get what we want from our partners that feels really good to us and is a lot about what I call leaning back instead of we've been taught to like lean in and to push more and to demand and to use more words and speak more clearly. But when that's not getting us the results that we want in our relationships, and when it doesn't feel good, I've got the answer to a different way that you can do things with your partner.
Okay. So would you be so kind to give us like an example?
An example of?
Like, okay, how would you describe or what would you say lean into? Like I could, like what, just like an example of like, hey, you could even make up a couple or say this is kind of like what I would be doing in this particular situation. I mean, I'm in rural Virginia, right? And I grew up in my father was a self-made military man, rough and tough. You certainly didn't talk about like frickin' periods or anything like that in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that it was taboo, but it's just like, I had brothers. It's best not, let's just zip it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, just give an example of like, how do women learn to start nurturing their relationship, getting what they want, but not having to have a big old fight about it? Like, if you could just give an example or a lesson that you would be like, okay, this is what I would do.
Well, I mean, I have a whole program that's surrounding
Yes.
all of that. So it's hard for me to like chunk it down into one piece. But I think where I can start is that, something that we don't realize is that we've been programmed since birth to have certain definitions about what relationships are supposed to be and what men are supposed to be, and the kinds of fulfillment or actions that men are supposed to take or give us in order for us to be happy or in order for us to be fulfilled. But what we don't realize is that when we put all of the responsibility on our partner to be or act or do certain things, it actually puts us in a victim kind of place, because what we're saying is, if you don't do X, then I can't feel the way that I want to feel, which is the most disempowering thing that you could teach anybody. Then that, coupled with the fact that most of the relationships that we see, whether it's in the parents that raise us or the family or society around us, or what we see in like tabloids or in Hallmark movies, those relationships are either impossible or they're actually unhealthy, and they're not the relationships that we want. And so many of us don't even have an example or see like a real world application of like, what is a good relationship? What does that even mean? Right? Like, some people will tell you a good relationship means that you never break up. You just like, like we're celebrating people that have 20 years, 50 years together, but like, what's the quality of that relationship? And are you getting
stay in it?
Exactly. Right. And so really, a lot of what I'm teaching women is to understand the paradigms or the programming that we have in our minds about what men are supposed to be or supposed to do. And a lot of it, what we don't realize is that we've learned a lot of things about men that are either untrue, or that those stories aren't serving us and are setting us up for failure and are setting them up for failure too. There's so much miscommunication. There's so much like, I talked about the battle of the sexes. It's like, we're prepared for men to, to be the patriarchy, and for us to have to fight to get for what we want. Like, we have a lot of that built into our system and our way of approaching our partners. And we forget that our man, Of course he wants us to be happy, because, that phrase, happy wife, happy life, when you're happy, and especially if he's the source of that happiness, it feels amazing for him. He wants to be your hero. He wants you to look at him and like be in awe of him and
Yes.
and love him. Like, he desires that. But we come to this place and this frustration where we start looking at him as an enemy or someone that we have to fight for what we want or need.
Yeah.
And I teach women how to put down the battle armor, like to soften and to really open their heart to their partner, and to realize that there's a different way of connecting with him and inspiring him energetically to join forces with you. Because if he's with you and if you're with him, whether there's a piece of paper there or not, you're both choosing to be together.
Yes.
Every day. You're both choosing to be in a partnership. So how can you take your full 100% responsibility in that partnership and show up as the woman that you want to be in that relationship, that you truly want to be in that relationship? And that's something that most women aren't doing. Most of us are acting from a place of obligation, or acting from a place of pressure, or acting from a place of fear, or even a place of protection, because we've been traumatized, or we've been hurt, or we've had to put on so many layers of, or so many walls around our heart in order for us not to feel that kind of pain. And I teach women how to heal and how to let that go, so that they can really connect with their partners in a way that feels good for the both of them, and so that both sides can get what they want. Because this is one of the biggest lies that drives me crazy. Everybody talks about compromise and meeting in the middle, and all that leads to is resentment, because it means that you never fully get what you want, and he never fully gets what you want, and nobody's fully happy. And I teach couples how to have that 100-100 relationship where you both fully get what you want.
I love that. So now, do you usually only have the woman as your client though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You
Goddess
don't
White
do
School. Yeah, exactly. Is for women.
Okay.
When I do work privately one-on-one with clients, there is always the option to have the partner there if and when necessary. But that's what's so freaking cool. Am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yeah, you
Okay,
yeah, hell yeah.
That's what's so fucking cool about it, is we don't realize how much power we have. Like, we're so much in the paradigm of feeling powerless and not getting what we want, that we don't realize how much power and sway we have in our relationships. And when you do what I teach you to do, it activates your partner, and it rekindles the desire for him to want to connect with you, want to build with you, want to be in partnership with you. And I know that, Kiley, a lot of your people in your community are entrepreneurs. So I'm an entrepreneur myself as well. Put on your entrepreneurial hat, right? If you have a business partnership with someone and the tactics that you're using for communication aren't working, the agreements that you have aren't working, are you going to try to dom them into agreeing with you? Are you going to try to fight them? Are you going to try to like convince them as much as possible? Like, it's going to end up pushing them away. And that's what so many of us are doing. We're using those tactics in our relationships that aren't working. So how do you create that fertile ground? How do you become the version of yourself that has the relationship that you want? And that's when your man feels so inspired and excited to join you in that creational process.
So it's kind of funny. So like, I've got some daughter-in-laws, right? And I'm like, okay, so I've always been, and I've gotten super lucky. I'm really, really close to them. And I'm like, you know what? Men are really simple. They really, really are. And if you can learn to not think that you have to fight with them all the time, and kind of, now, of course, I've learned this being around the block, right? I've been around the block. I finally have my best friend, right? But, and if I, I mean, Michelle, it's just so powerful, because I think people really, deep down in their heart and soul, they want to be happy. Of course, that's why they married. Now, not all marriages are supposed to stay together and all that kind of stuff. Who knows? There's lots of different reasons. But you liked this person before, and so life gets in the way. I think it's what you're saying is like, it's a lot about communication.
Yeah. And in communication, right? When we hear that, we think about the words that we use. But one of the things that I teach is about feminine communication. And so much of our communication needs to be connected to our energy. right? And this is a skill, like, the reason that it's a school is these are skills that we never learn. Like, these are not tools and skills that were passed down generally generationally, right?
Right.
Like, we have the privilege right now of being in spaces where we can do a lot of healing and learn about our emotions and learn these bonus tools to give us an even better quality of life. For most of us, our parents didn't have that, and that's why they were more in
Right.
survival mode, and that's why these things weren't necessarily modeled for us. But if you're lucky enough to be in a partnership or a relationship now, like, it could be a huge resource for you. Like,
Mhm.
imagine you have a whole other person that wants to see you win, that wants to see you successful, that wants to see your dreams coming true, like, that has all these different gifts and ways of viewing the world and different skills that he wants to combine forces with you so that you can do like even more things together. And so most of us don't realize that we're still in a survival mode when it comes to our
Mm.
partnerships. And we don't have to be there. We have the opportunity to really thrive and to watch our dreams come true and to build what I call limitless relationships with our partners. And so why wouldn't you want to have all of the skills
Yeah.
in your toolbox? Why wouldn't you want to learn how to really be in a place that it's not only just to get him to do what you want, because I'm not teaching how to manipulate
Right.
another person, but it's really about how to be so effective in how you get to show up. And it's all connected back to being the woman that you truly want to be. And most women, if we take a real look at ourselves, we're so busy all the time, we
Yeah.
don't realize that we're forcing ourselves to be and do and act and show up in ways that don't feel good for us, that are depleting for
Yeah.
us, that feel like obligations. And I'm really committed to helping women stop that cycle.
Hey, everyone. If you're enjoying the Entrepreneurs Hangout podcast, please like, love, subscribe, and share me. Don't forget to hit the notification buttons. Bye for now. I can see that being part of a personality. Like, I'm just going to use this as an example. Like, I'm a quintessential hostess, man. I like, you don't even have to ask for a cup of coffee. I'm like, oh, here's your second cup of coffee. It's just like, I try to, well, in the one way, it's like, Kylie, you don't have to, because then I don't then want to receive. I'm more of a giver, right? So then I think that you have it right. You could also then become a little bit pissed off because you might not be getting exactly what you are thinking that you deserve, but you can't focus on it, you can't vocalize it. So I can see this being like really, really super powerful.
Yeah, in terms of receiving, right? I mean, if you are versed in the language of polarity, masculine and feminine
Yep.
energetic dynamics, and that's a lot of what I teach. And it's not about gender. I want to just say everyone has masculine and feminine energy. There's no right or wrong. It's not like you're supposed to be feminine and he's supposed to be masculine. I'm not talking
Hmm.
about what things are supposed to be. However, there's different ways that we can play with our energy to have the experiences of what we want. And when it comes to polarity, if you are conscious of how you're showing up energetically in one way, it's going to influence, right? When you're in a dynamic, in a relationship, how you show up has instant impact and influence on the other person in
Yes.
that dynamic. So once you show up different, the other person has no choice but to respond differently to
Different.
how it's you're showing up. It's just natural law. That's just like what it is. So there's a lot of power there too. And so what we don't realize, right, is that for those of us that are givers and doers and we're busy and our schedules are full and there's always one more thing and there's always this to-do list, we are not giving ourselves or our partners the opportunity, the gift of slowing down so that we can receive
Right.
sometimes, so that we can get what we want. And that's our responsibility, right?
Yep.
Because the truth is that your man doesn't want to waste his energy chasing you, fighting you, dominating you. Like, that's not how he wants to use his energy to be in partnership with you. But so many of us don't know how to get out of that mode and out of that cycle. And we're either forcing him to go there and then hating it, or getting mad when he doesn't go
Yeah.
there, not realizing how much of that pattern and that cycle we are creating ourselves.
That's great. So, do most of your, this is kind of an off the wall question, I think, but I just had this thought. Do most of your women do they tell their man, "Hey, I'm taking this goddess wife school," or does it like, "I'm taking it and I'll learn how to get his reactions the way it's supposed to come. Just,
Well,
you know?
I always encourage the women that want to sign up to communicate with their partners about what they're doing. I think, everything that I do with my clients is super intentional. And so I think that and I've seen it happen over and over, the incredibly connective experience that gets to happen when my clients go to their partner and say, like, hey, I want to make our relationship even
Yeah,
better. I want to make sure that I'm showing up in a way that helps you be your best and helps me be their best. Like, that's a real heart connected and caring moment that couples get to have. So I even help the women that are nervous to talk about their
mhm,
partners, how to do it. And I get so many beautiful letters from them, but also from their partners. I get
that's
so many
awesome.
thank you letters from all the men that are partnered with the women that do this work, because it really has so many beautiful effects on both sides, and also generationally,
Yes,
because you
yes,
know I have a daughter, and I just want to be in a relationship where I'm modeling the kind of relationship that I
yep,
wish that she would be having
yep.
too. And that's another reason why I'm so motivated to teach this to others.
That's awesome, Michelle. So Michelle, the thing of it is, I think that you really are saving some marriages or saving some partners, right?
Yeah.
Of course, if it's the right thing to do. But I was going to ask you that because, like I'm older than you are, right? But there is an age that is our parents only did the best they did. And they did the best they could. They only did
Right.
what they knew, right?
Right.
Yours different than mine, but definitely, I mean, oh my God, my mother and father fought like cats and dogs. They stayed together, but they fought like cats and dogs, right?
Right.
But and certainly growing up, that's what you see. So you think that that's the way it's supposed to be. Now, with my kids, it's completely different. And with their kids, it's going to be different. So isn't it amazing where you can help generations grow up to be like amazing, wonderfully beautiful people that are in very happy relationships?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I feel like when you look at society, things like swing so dramatically from one side to the other. We live in a very binary kind of system, right or wrong, good or bad, positive, negative, black, white, and what I really want to help couples do, and the opposite sexes do together, is really learn about partnership, and also remove the stigma of when there's problems or frustration or there's conflict in relationship, because that's also a very healthy and natural part of growth, right? When
Yeah.
things aren't working, it's natural that there's conflict, because that's the opportunity for you to make things even better. And lucky for you, you have a whole other person that also wants to make it better and
Yes.
has like a different point of view and a different approach and a different level of creativity and seeing the world. But most of us, again, we don't know how to join forces with that person. We're looking at him and we're like, why isn't he doing things like me and thinking like me? And I know the way and I'm right. And I really want to diffuse that kind of way of us versus them, or it's either my way or the highway,
Right.
and create a new way for couples to build the future together that we want.
That is great. So it's not even just like, again, I like what you say where there's 100%, 100%.
Right.
It's not like, no, you got to come over to my way or I've got to come over to your way.
Never works.
Yeah, no, no, because I mean, just like my husband's amazing. We are like best friends, but he is super conservative, like in the middle. And me even joking, we met 7 years ago on an airplane yesterday. And he's like, honey, you've really got to come from the edge. You're like on the edge all the time. But he's got such a different way of looking at things that
Right.
I really love to be able to work with him. Doesn't always work out the way we want, but I love the fact that you've got some, you know, probably some things that the woman can take back and constantly revisit, retweak, making sure that she can make it work for her
Yeah. I
and for
have
them.
something I'm really proud of is that women, like my alumni, they like to repeat Goddess Wife School. And actually that's one of the reasons why I keep launching it and keep it open, is I keep doing the work in my relationship, you know, as a multipreneur, you know, with every launch, with every expansion, you know, I keep changing, I keep growing, and I want to make sure that my relationship and my husband are supporting me in the best way, that, and also that my business, like that it's all working together, you know, like, because we all know that if things are not good at home, if you're fighting with your partner, like that takes mental real estate, and that takes your energy, that takes your attention, like that can even take your passion, like so much can get pulled into conflict, you know, and to free that space and to really feel like you're gelled with your partner, and that like he's your rock, that you can lean on him when things are hard. Like so many of us are afraid, or we don't even know how to do that anymore. So many women are feeling, like you see the articles, like that women feel like they, you know, the world is set up against them and systems are set up against them, and that they're not getting what they want and need in business and corporations, you know. And we really have the opportunity to work with our partner. I call it personal activism, because it, you know, people work on policy and people protest and all that, and that's important, but doing the work at home, like making that personal change at home, has such a huge effect, like, and you see it immediately. And I really, you know, for everyone that's starting businesses, working from home, I was talking to one of my clients that she helps remote workers. She called it the Great Resignation, all these people that are resigning from their jobs because that structure doesn't work for having work-life balance, for having happy relationships. But we accidentally take what we learn into our personal lives or when we're growing our businesses. And understanding how we do that and doing it differently, like we can set ourselves up for success, and our relationships are a huge part of that.
Well, you know, I say, you know, like it's like if you've got a happy mindset, happy business, you know, you're if happy mind, happy business, well mind, well being, well business. And you know, you can't be a good business person if you've got conflict at home. There's just no ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. How can you focus, right? If like your mind is something, yeah, we know that that's true. I agree with you.
And it's like, for me, I say I'm really super blessed, which is like, I get to help one woman at a time. I help female entrepreneurs get their businesses successful, get unstuck, get your business successful. So I get to, just like you, I feel we get to take one person at a time and make the world a better place. One person at a time. Because if they're successful, if they're happy, if they have a happy life, a happy family, you know, happy home life, just everybody wins.
Yeah, I completely, best said, mic drop. That's right.
So Michelle, before we wrap up, tell my listeners, so you've got an online course, and of course we're going to link all of your details in the notes below, so you don't have to take notes and all that kind of fun stuff. You'll have all of Michelle's details, but just right now your course is how long?
So my course is called Goddess Wife School, and you can find it very simple at goddesswifeschool.com. It's a 10-week live journey that I run a couple times a year, but you can sign up at any time during the year, and you get my support behind the scenes as you get all of the different content. It's really easy to watch videos, workbooks, playlists, meditations, physical practices, a lot of stuff that we weren't taught or given, that is like absolutely vital for us as women to have in our back pockets if we want to feel successful in our relationships with our men. And then you can sign up for that anytime that you need. And then you, as a bonus, when I do the live round, you are automatically upgraded to be part of that live experience.
Amazing. And do you find that your women connect because of course they get to know each other a little bit? I think that that's kind of helpful.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I always partner everyone that signs up. You get a solidarity sister, because there's definitely some practices that I teach that are partner practices. And, you know, something that you were saying before about, you know, that you can't talk about everything with all the men in your life.
Yeah.
It's actually true. I know that for some women that are listening, that might sound like an outdated concept, but we have to remember, like, the idea that your man is supposed to be your everything, that is only a concept that's came around in the 1800s in the age of romanticism. Your partner not only isn't supposed to, he's not qualified or capable to be your therapist and your business partner and your best friend and your lover and your co-parent. Nobody is supposed to be all of those things to you. So having other people in your life that are available and resourced to support you in different things so that you can have the relationship that is best for your husband in a way that feels good for him and you is vital. So yes, you get a solidarity sister, other women in the group that are doing the work, and also support from me. And I'm always doing that work.
That is amazing. You rock, sister. I love it. I love you from day one. And I'm so, so blessed to like have you on the podcast and be able to share all of the good works that you do.
Thank you. I feel so happy to be here. And I just feel like honored, it's so good, like, to talk to other women that get it, and that are in support of other women having lives and businesses and relationships that truly light us up and make us happy. I really appreciate and love talking about this with you.
I know. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Michelle.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us with the Entrepreneurs Hangout. If you love us, come join us on Facebook with Entrepreneurs Hangout Facebook group. It's where entrepreneurs go to collaborate and grow.